I was partway through reading your writing that you put in the group about mm, yeah, and I'm just going to close it because here we are. I feel glad to hear that you've been living in an eco village, and it's Dancing Rabbit. Is that right?
Yes, correct. How
Yeah.
did you know that?
I think you named it in one of
Oh,
your
did I?
messages, and I'm
Oh, in the
familiar
video.
with.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm only slightly familiar with it as one of the um, Global Eco Village Network directory and Foundation of Intentional Community directory listed eco villages that I've
sure.
gone to their website a few times over the last probably, I don't know how long it's been around, but it
Mm.
seems like I've gone to their website numerous times over the,
Yeah, I think they've been here like 26 years or something.
yeah, I was going to say a couple decades.
hmm hmm Well, I feel joy hearing that you've done some research into intentional community.
Yeah, I've been on this path a long, long time, from having been the mother of children and very clear that this was not a village,
hmm
and missing the village.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's been one of my favorite things here at Dancing Rabbit is it's laid out like a European village, so very much focused on foot traffic and shared common spaces in front of doorways rather than all oriented towards roads with cars. And so it's yeah, it's been a real blessing. I
Mm.
I feel sadness because it feels like coming home, having spent the last 6 years attempting to bring aspects of intentional community culture into a small city has been a real um, challenging, deeply challenging journey. And so just in the last week and a half, have I been able to like surrender back my nervous system in a way that I'd forgotten what it felt like.
Mm.
Yeah.
I'm glad about that. And can you say something about, like, why the bridge house then?
Why the bridge house then? I would say the level of intentional practice that and maps. So I'll tell a quick story if that's all right with you.
You need not get my consent.
Okay. Um, maybe that's part of the cultural difference as well, because everything here is consent, and that is beautiful in some ways and very challenging in others. Um, but yeah, let's see, where do I want to begin this story? There's so much. Um, I was holding space for a cooperative house in Boulder, and the there was a good bit of friction, and then folks went and did a possibility management training, and suddenly places where there had been friction, there was understanding and ease. And up until that time, I had only done one ETB in like 2014. Clinton caught me at Findhorn and took me to his training in Portugal. Very nonlinear. I was meant to travel from Scotland to Senegal by land, and instead he sort of intersected my path and said, "Why are you doing this crazy walk where you'll probably die?" And I said, because I'm really looking for some deeper contact. I'm looking for some deeper connection with life. There's a part of my soul that's not feeling met, and I had work in Senegal, so it's like a pilgrimage that I was on. And this time feels very similar. I feel very much like I'm on a pilgrimage of retrieving different parts of my soul and my identity because it was pretty shattered at the end of last year. I lost some of my closest friends. I lost the land that I thought I was investing in for the long term. And my business appeared as though it was also going to go under because we've been building business in community, which is something I have now learned a lot about, that in modern culture, I don't know if it's possible to simultaneously learn truly deep skills of being in community and really build a successful business. Those feel like different game worlds now in my experience. Um, and sort of similarly, the world of intentional community feels like its own game world, especially like the eco village culture and orientation. And you know, I've watched Clinton over the years try to bring more of the um, context and levels of responsibility and communication tools into communities. And so it wasn't until it happened organically in the house I was living in that people went to ETB, and suddenly our capacity to communicate was radically enhanced in a way that I didn't know that I had so absorbed and embedded these maps into my being. And that reveal made me attracted to the work again in a way that I hadn't been for some time. So,
Mm. Wow. It, yeah, thank you.
mm,
I
oh,
I'm hearing you as a person who also had I I established I originated something I called the Awakening House Temporary Permaculture Ashram House in Calgary,
uh,
and it existed for 5 years, and in the sixth year afterward, after it disbanded, was when I encountered possibility management for the first time, really as a participant rather than an observer of that was happening over there,
yes,
and had a beautiful like last year there almost with really only one other person who was studying and using the distinctions tools maps processes and it, yeah, just this whole realm of possibility that opened up that fit with the all of the purposes that I had about originating this experiment, and I could take all the the failure from it as feedback into
mm,
into next experiments. And yeah, so the bridge houses, just my being lit up when I first heard the term bridge house. It was like, I know what that is, or at least I know kind of where it comes from, what it's, and to have been able to look back and say, wow, that was a bridge house. It was a early model, unclear, mixed context bridge house.
mm,
And now I have these bridge houses to orient into and hold space for, and really seeing it as a place to to build space, like Gaian game world space holder building capacity and skill, and then to be able to do the next experiment and the next experiment where instead of an eco village with a business, the whole thing's a growness. Have you seen that website, the growness website?
no,
I'll send it to you. It's actually up on my in my browser right now because it just became relevant in another space.
mm. In this pause moment, I also just want to not let the moment pass where I want to appreciate how deeply received I felt in my share. It brought up sadness for me. Like I just felt really listened to, and like you really let what I shared energetically land in you. And that was sad, sweet, kind. Thank you.
Thank you for letting me know. Yeah, thank you for feeling the sadness. notice that I have this sense of like I have this story that I get where you're coming from, and I get your purpose, and I also am reminding myself that there's assumptions active there,
Mm.
and so my next question is something like where are you at as in like orienting toward the bridge house, the Magic Cow Bridge House in New York State, from where
Yes.
you're at Dancing Rabbit, and like, are you clear what you want yet?
There are levels of clarity. So I will be leaving here on Thursday. This actually emerged as a very divinely guided midpoint of my journey from Colorado to Michigan, where they happened to be doing a visitor program the exact week that I would be moving through here. And it was exactly on the route to where I was going. And so,
Thanks, Echo.
yeah, right, totally. So I feel joy about that. And now in being here, there's also an opportunity to potentially step into a significant role here. But I'm also very clear that I need to continue my journey so that I can really sense into how that is for me if I, to come into this space, receive this opportunity, and make a decision before exiting the bubble feels unwise. So I'll be going to Michigan on Thursday, and then was meant to meet with some friends in Maine on September 10th, but I just
Where in
received
Maine?
some I actually don't know exactly. It's a friend's family cabin, but I just received a text I need to follow up about that they may not be meeting me there anymore. So that would open my road more than I had imagined, which was also part of why I was waiting. I wanted to be clear before I came into contact. That's definitely something about me. I tend to process a lot internally and want to like create more clarity in a space rather than confusion. And then it also came to a point where it was like, okay, this is real and this is now, and everyone is already gathering and connecting. And so it felt timely to speak, even if I don't know exact dates at this time. I also saw a request from someone in the WhatsApp group about coming for less than a month, and I don't know where that conversation at. Um, so I'm here making contact to be in a dance of exploration of what could and would feel good, possible, and fun for everyone.
Thank you. When you said Maine, I perked up because I want, while I'm out east, to go to a project in Maine that I've been connected with by phone for a couple of years in
Mhm.
Belfast called the Possibility Alliance. Do you know
That's
them?
funny. They there I don't know a lot, but when I came here, a friend told me to get in touch with them because my understanding is they used to be based here in Missouri as well, and then they moved.
Yeah.
So I don't know the current status, but that seed thread is also in my awareness.
Wow. Wow. Will you keep me posted about your movements? Because I have this gap or this time frame between the end of August and September 15th when I'm due at the Magic Cow Bridge House, where I don't have clarity about what I want yet. And I've had,
Oh wow.
certain invitations, and I also haven't got my air travel confirmed. Mm, I want to go to the Possibility Alliance. I have an open invitation from Ethan to come to let them know when, and if it's like not a great time, they'll let me know. So
Mhm.
it's the beginning of a conversation rather than. And also, I remember that Devin asked to be kind of bridged to them too, and I didn't hear yet back from him if anything happened about that. I mean, the short story is that I want to go there while I'm out east. I don't know when that
Yes.
will be. Before, during, after. Maybe it will be a road trip with a few other Bridge House space holders to visit the Possibility Alliance.
Mm-hmm.
And I also am interested in, like, I keep getting this, I don't know how much of it is a fantasy, but to leave the Bridge House on the 15th of December as part of a team that ongoingly is traveling together from project to project,
Oh, wow.
bringing this like valuable skill set, and also being so valuable to each other as space holders, especially for emotional healing processes that come up. So that because I've been on the road for 3 years,
Mm-hmm.
not quite 3 years, and what's missing is having the team right there in person. And I've had that on during when I'm in training spaces, when I've teamed up with another possibilitator for a time, and and more this is clearly what I want next. Is a And it's been with me for a while.
Oh.
I had this dream of, because I called my house Awakening House, temporary permaculture ashram, and my umbrella name for my growness is Awakening the Village. And to do the Awakening the Village roadshow with a group of people who were, as a team, as a nomadic, like, nano nation,
Mm.
that are almost ambassadors of Possibilica as the nomadic nano nation that I call home.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, so that's all cooking, in
Beautiful.
on my benches or back burners, whatever.
Yes. Thank you for sharing that. There's resonance there for me. Um, in a sense, the home that I left in Boulder is what was kind of a bridge house, as the woman I was anchoring that space with has done a lot of possibility management work. She was someone who came into my life with the projects I was starting in Boulder and has just been an incredible friend and ally throughout. And um, the potential was there, but the um, pressure of finances. She got this very expensive house. And so then she was out running around trying to get contracts, and we weren't actually creating what I knew was possible for us to create. And so part of my journey now is also um, considering a potential return to that space later on this year. And my journey now being more about me letting go of feeling like I needed to hold the center of something, which is actually not particularly natural to my being. I've been more of like a consultant than I've been like the, center, especially of building something from the ground up. And this notion of, yeah, being able to hold space together and bring these tools to other places is something that sounds very exciting. I'm somewhere in that exploration as well of what, I did not imagine opening to the possibility of setting up longer term a dancing rabbit, but I'm in this inquiry now of what is home? How do I create home? Being someone who used to be very nomadic and in community and traveling often, to someone who hadn't left Boulder in 6 years. Um, I'm in a big liquid state around my place and my desires for home. It's a big part of my exploration as well. And I'd say above all, what I've been realizing more than anything is that um, home to me is the field of relationships that I am in. and a deep longing for that to be very proximate and in person in my life as well. I think that was part of when I moved to Boulder, I sort of disconnected from my larger global network. You know, I was on the board of the Global Eco Village Network and the Foundation for Intentional Community for years, and I just put all of that down because I I was angry and afraid that we just all of these events and gatherings I was at, we just kept talking about it. And I didn't see how it would actually come into form. And so I sort of pushed that all away to just attempt to create in this very, like, let's say, largely forceful way where I wasn't entirely clear on the full set of purposes that were happening through me.
Yeah.
Um, and am now, yeah, really just one of the big shifts for me was I used to only open doors that I knew that I wanted to walk through. And in a way, I see my lack of contact in this field because I didn't have my clarity as like that same pattern in a certain sense. And what I've been repatterning and had to change a lot of stories around how I saw um, energetics and manifestation and integrity um, of like I need to bring clarity into the world, but then disconnecting in that pursuit, like I've just more so been opening doors and letting that be okay and communicating with integrity once there is like an offer. You know, I got on this
Yeah.
road trip with like a potential full-time position at CU Boulder, which would have been like my first time taking a job like that ever, you know, and yet still deciding I'm getting on the road and like, yeah, allowing myself to make the decision when there's that clear, you know, once the doors open, as opposed to not opening any doors until having clarity.
Yeah. Wow. I'm seeing these distinctions between seeing a door, opening a door, and going through a door,
Mhm.
and and yeah, this shift into experimenting, even more shifting into experimenting with each of those steps of how it can go for,
Mhm.
yeah, for
Yes.
questing. Yeah.
Thank you for that reflection. It helps me integrate what I'm saying. Feel joy about that.
Yay, teamwork.
Oh, yeah. Thanks. I feel you as a stand for that already, which might be an assumption, but that's what's coming through for me.
It's one of my bright principles. I've been naming it as collaboration,
Hmm.
and yeah, I'm noticing lately that I keep saying teamwork,
Hmm.
and so this seems like that. Yeah, as I build mass in this for this bright principle of collaboration, it starts to become teamwork
Hmm.
as distinct from collaboration. I'm not quite sure how that is. They're distinct.
I love that inquiry and exploration.
Have you distilled your bright principles?
To an extent,
What are the, will you declare them?
I don't feel in a place to do that right now. I think spending more time there again after my disintegration, reintegration process feels important.
Yeah, yeah, cool.
Do you wish to share yours?
Yes, I am love, integrity, possibility, healing, empowerment, collaboration.
Thank you.
And my currently my bright principle, like my bright purpose statement is I am a Gaian transformation catalyst. specializing in possibility coaching and training emotional healing process space holders.
Mm.
And another thing that seems important to say is that one of the teams I'm on is the experience archaearchy team, where the quest is to find game worlds, radically responsible regenerative game worlds, to visit and interview, to find out if they fit in a book called Experience Archaearchy, which is a travel guide
Mm.
similar to the Lonely Planet travel guides.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I feel sad reporting that, because so far the the treasure hunting I'm doing and the treasures I'm finding, I haven't got to the part yet where an interview actually happens.
And you feel sad about that.
Yeah. And I also feel glad about it, because my story about it is that it came from clarity that it, it wasn't the time, it wasn't the place, it wasn't, yeah, and I might be wrong about that. And yeah, I did what I did, I didn't do what I didn't do, and here we are.
Mm.
Yeah, and I have my summertime has been this next experiment in being a lot more often in in-person spaces without digital technology. and and I have, somehow it seems, either in my box, very rigid and embedded, or in my archetypal lineage. I can see it can be both, to discover and experiment about uh, spaces that are unplugged from electric power. And this is partly where my interest in the Possibility Alliance comes, and
Mm.
also unplugged from fossil fuels as
Mm-hmm.
sources of power.
Mm-hmm.
And I get that that's really radical, to the point of possibly, gremlin subversive stuff. And yet, yeah, there's this, yeah, this hunger and longing to live in a space, at least for a time, where they've figured out something else, especially in a northern, um, more northern climate.
Mm-hmm.
Because it seems so far to be part of my archetypal lineage to show what can be done where
Mm.
there's winter, where winter
Mm.
happens.
Mm.
I I don't particularly, my box doesn't like the cold, and something, my box and my being both love the seasons. So
Mm-hmm.
I feel joy to be cold, which I don't like,
Mm.
and layer up and cozy up and have longer sleeps during the longer nights. And this, yeah, something about this ecstasy I get from synchronizing to the Gaian clock of the Northern Hemisphere.
Yes.
Wow, I've never heard myself say it like that. Wow.
To synchronize with the Gaian clock of the Northern Hemisphere.
Whew, yeah, wow.
Mm-hmm.
It really lights me up.
Feels very deep.
Yeah, yeah.
I guess you like.
And there's a, like, a piece beside that that is about holding space for spaces where children, which is to say, people who haven't been initiated yet into adulthood, mm, adventure and explore and experiment, and are like, it's a space of trusting that children don't need to be schooled, that don't need to be taught, don't need to be, you know,
Mm-hmm.
like have it done for them, and yet where it's useful to have grown-ups who they can bounce things off,
Mm-hmm.
and who can hold space for them while they learn to create possibilities and learn to notice possibilities. And yeah, do a lot of, messy experimenting, and learn how to clean up the messes. And yeah, this weaves into another stop that I want to make, which is near Boston, Massachusetts, to where the original Sudbury Valley campus is, this
Mm-hmm.
unschooling collective.
Mm-hmm.
You know about it?
I do. I grew up in Westford, Massachusetts, which is basically an adjacent town to Lincoln Sudbury. I guess not really, but very close. And so part of this pilgrimage I'm on, as it was vectoring towards New England, but now have potentially lost my uh, most concrete checkpoint on this emergent pilgrimage, um, is to return to the place where I was born, both specifically, potentially, but predominantly regionally, because I have not been to New England in, yeah, probably also 7 or 8 years. I noticed a couple logistical questions coming up. You said something about September to December 15th being, is that the collective time at the Bridge House, or is that your personal specific time at the Bridge House? Because I sort of saw different things, it seemed like, in that conversation.
Yeah, it's both. I'm one of, so far there's me. Well, there's Dawe Meredith and me, and so far Devin, who have committed, and I'm not remembering if Dorothea's committed to the full 3 months, which is September 15th to December 15th
Okay.
in person. And in the last call, we clarity came about. So there are different people that we're looking for, which is probably a few more people, maybe a handful more people who will commit to the 3 month duration,
Mm-hmm.
which is the kind of official move in and official move out of this 3 month experiment.
Yes.
And then there are the people who will come for a shorter period, maybe 1 or 2 months. And then there would be the people who might come for a week for a specific purpose that would be contained within that week. And then there might be even people who come for a weekend or a couple of days, and getting clear about what would the purposes be, and this then comes from the other side, where the 3 month space holders are also creating nodes to create like more distinct time spaces in the 3 month
Mm.
calendar.
Yes.
For example, I've made a proposal to, I, I've invited people to join my node, and so far I haven't had anyone say I'm on your node, to bring a radical honesty trainer to deliver a radical honesty intensive
Hmm.
at, at the Magic Cow Bridge House, and a guy called Mac, who's a trainer in that area, has said that he last time I when I first asked him, are there dates in this period of time that would work for you? He said yes, and book me as soon as you can, if that's a go.
Hmm.
So that there's that, and then I would love to. Yeah, maybe I'll check in with Devin again about Ethan and the PA, about either a road trip excursion or to bring Ethan and or Sarah to deliver something about what they're up to, or to even create like a weekend convergence at the Bridge House of game world builders from the area. Whoa.
Yes, I'm on that node.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Hmm.
The game world builder convergence node.
Yes.
Wow.
I'm really appreciating how palpably I can experience your somatic experience. There's a tremendous power that feels sourced in a really deep, um, the word right now is like humility. Like it feels like you've been through quite a lot and are a highly sensitive person. And that is a combination that I deeply honor and feel connected with. Thank you.
Yeah, it's uncomfortable for me to let that in, and I'm letting it in. I feel sad to, yeah, this touches this longing in me to be seen. Thank you.
It's an honor.
Glad, glad to hear that it's an honor.
Yes.
Yeah, I feel so much joy about a Game World or Convergence event node, and yeah, just these like what looks like synchronicities about, yeah, about where you're coming from and where I'm coming from, and this
Mm.
orientation toward, yeah, these radically responsible spaces where, yeah, Gaia in action through Gaian Arcan humans.
Mm. Yeah, that had a big wave there. Thank you for naming that. I think that's what I know as home.
Yeah,
I feel fear and joy and sadness about the possibility of embracing that, committing to that full-time window. It feels scary because I'm just beginning my journey. It feels exciting, joyful, and sad because this depth of connection in our first meeting is very meaningful to me. And I think the dominant thing that I struggled to create, because I think it requires a really high level of willingness to feel. One of the other X's on my emergent pilgrimage map is a place outside of Amherst, Massachusetts called Sirius Community, like the star, Sirius. It's an eco village I lived in for about 3 years and is exquisitely beautiful and hosting their 45th year anniversary at the end of September. So this notion of hubbing or homing and going on excursions, and also the desire to continue the collaborations past the end of a bridge house period of time, are both things that I want and did not know entirely, or somehow was, I think, blocking myself from knowing because I did not know how they would happen.
Cool. Thank you. Feel glad to hear that that's happening. And yeah, yeah, I'm so curious what that experience would be like to be at a celebration like that. The the people, the originator of the bridge house I was in from September 18th to December 18th last year in Czechia.
Mm,
She's, do you know Christine Dershner?
I have heard the name.
She and her partner Martin, they live at Schloss Glerisegg in Switzerland, and
Okay. Yeah.
this year Schloss Glerisegg has been celebrating a big, I don't remember which number, but a big anniversary. Yeah, it's so cool to get to kind of hear the gold, or like have the gold
Mm,
come in about what these like decades old eco village experiments are discovering, and to hear about how more and more it, in in Schloss Glerisegg, the maps and tools and distinctions and processes from possibility management, that people are opening more and more to them.
mm, beautiful. That is not an easy thing. Mm,
Yeah.
yeah, one of my thoughts on how I would do that was to just rent a room at Sirius for like the month and then satellite out from there. Um, so I'm restructuring my reality and including another possibility of being at Magic Cow.
Yeah. Were you, did you say clearly the dates that is?
I did not. I think it's like the whatever the weekend is towards the end of September. I think it's like till the 24th. Is that? Yeah, I don't have a calendar in front of me.
Yeah, like the equinox weekend, maybe.
I believe so. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. I've been invited to a gathering that happens the first weekend of September in upstate New York. I
Mm.
think it's women only. Yeah, it's interesting. This what did you call it? This like when you were saying that the one in Maine looked like it wasn't going to be this like landing place kind of
Mhm.
marker on
Oh,
your
the
journey.
checkpoint. Yeah, the
Yeah,
checkpoint.
checkpoint. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah, yeah. This nomadic life is this kind of figuring out these like stepping stones to land on these checkpoints,
Hmm.
and then the pieces in between.
Yeah, it used to bring me lots of joy and be very fun, that part of it. And now I have sort of entropied into an extended period of like, I don't even know what to call it. Somehow more certainty, but also like not in the like settling way, but in the like feeling kind of stuck way. But
Mm,
then like shaking off all of that, there's a lot more fear and a different sort of like certainty that I'm wanting in my travels. And that's been a whole trip, which I think is part of why I need to like also take my next step from here at Dancing Rabbit to Michigan, because yeah, there's a part of me that could just like, let this be the whole thing. But also when I was in like my deepest um sadness around everything that had been lost, my soul spoke to me so clearly that I'm to be on land with people that I love in Europe. And so I also love that you brought in, some of the connections or awareness that you have of that field over there. It's been a long time since I've connected or talked to folks who know
mm,
some of the map of Europe as well, in this, in next culture leaning.
mm.
I find myself beginning to think about food. The start of this call time was exactly when we do lunch here. So I was that's why I didn't respond sooner. I was on the fence, and I'm so glad that I hopped on with you.
Mm. That sounds like a perfect like completion point. My stomach hasn't started eating itself yet, but it also hasn't had food put in it yet today.
Where are you now?
I'm now in Edmonton, Alberta.
Okay, beautiful. I was just in Banff in February. That was
Wow.
my first time up towards Calgary, and Edmonton's quite far from there, probably. My Canadian geography is lacking.
Edmonton is about 3 hours north of Calgary, driving.
Okay, that's actually about what I, yeah, imagined. It's so beautiful. I live in the, Colorado Rockies, but that was a whole nother level. Oh my God. Ah, so good. I felt so much joy being in those mountains.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. My best guess for where I will root down is in the Canadian Rockies.
beautiful.
That's where I was born
Okay.
and raised.
Mhm.
Well, thank you. Thank you for this time. Thank you for making time to be here. And thank you for this. Yeah, it's been super nourishing space to be in
Mhm.
for me. And yeah, I feel glad to to have you join and to see you orienting toward the possibility of being at the Magic Cowbridge House. And yeah, and whatever happens, just having met you, I'm, yeah, having found those parallels and synchronicities, and I will be in touch.
Beautiful. Yes, thank you for holding this space yesterday and today, and for, yeah, creating such a powerful experience of synchronicity and presence and feeling. Um, and thank you for sharing your bright principles with me. I, yeah, sincerely hope to see you in the coming months.
Me too. Bye for now.
Okay, take care.